Hello, everybody. It is Andy Smith, your 33-year veteran of the comic book industry with this week's book look. I say we focus on John Byrne. See what I did there? Focus on, name of the book, Focus on John Byrne. Guys, I'm a huge John Byrne fan, as you know. I don't know. I don't think I got this book when it came out. I don't know. Maybe I did. $3.95 back in the day. Fantagraphic Books. The cover was drawn in '83, featuring the lovely ladies. 3 of them John created, and 1 he did not, but he had a great run on the book. This is just peak John Byrne. He'd probably hate hearing that. This book is 64 pages, $3.95. He was 33 when he did this stuff. When this came out, I didn't know that, but I was 13, so I was like, wow, that guy's so old. So kind of in the vein of the art of John Byrne. So this did come out in 1984. Okay. So yeah, so some of there might be some overlap with stuff that's in the art of John Byrne. I remember seeing these. I did track down, I think this one I was able to get. So we have an introduction here talking about John. God. 30, he was 33. And like I said, I was a whopping 13, or no, this came out in 84. So he was 34. I was 14. So, 20 years older than me, basically. And at that age, you're like, wow, that guy's old. Now I look at it and I'm like, holy crap, 34. That's 20 years in my rear view window. So you've got the John Byrne interview by Peter Sanderson. Peter Sanderson has put out a number of books. I'm looking at one now on the history of, what's it called? Marvel Universe, Peter Sanderson. You know what? I might have to use that as a book look. 1 week. Alpha Flight number 10. I loved Alpha Flight. Man, I just love John's stuff. So very early, 23 fanzine work. 23 years old. You can see his Neil Adams influence in this stuff. This was the comic that started it all. So who knows? Maybe if, well, he was 34. If I ever get a book like this, it would be Captain America 275 for the comic that started it all. This is Fantastic Four, number 5. And then, of course, he had a lengthy run on Fantastic Four. Just, yeah, pretty much 2 decades later. So, such a fun time in comics, drawing yourself on the cover and stuff. This I never saw. From the days of Spidey Super, a silly cover. Oh, so okay, this is just, really? That's amazing. They put that together as a joke? I thought that was a real cover when I was a kid, but I guess it was just put together as a joke, because, I mean, there were Spidey Super stories, but there's no way that was allowed. This is from the art of John Byrne. I always loved this. John was literally working on, at one point, Avengers, X-Men, and Fantastic Four. So here he is poking fun at himself. I mean, John would say he could draw 3 pages a day. So if you can draw 3 pages a day, that's 3 books in a month. Now, I think that's when books were 17 pages, not 21 or 22. But still, I mean, that is just very impressive. Of course, one of his most favorite images that people have homaged before. This is funny. So when I was a kid, my dad would drive me to conventions and stuff up in Towson, Maryland, which is north of Baltimore. That's where I got to meet Tom Lyle. And there's another artist there Charles Barnett. No, that's not his name. I'm sorry. I have to look, because I still have the art. And he was selling prints of this that he colored with markers, but taking full credit for it. And I actually saw those before I believe I saw this. But just a great example of John doing very fun cartoony stuff. Little redesign of Dr. Doom. Nice panels here. Like, this is the inking of John Byrne's that I grew up on. I loved it. Like I said, you have your favorite time period of every artist, and this is my favorite time period of John Byrne's work. The introduction of Alpha Flight and X-Men 120. Just great. His original character sheet. This was inked with a pen. I believe he was using rapidographs and going back and forth to make the lines thicker. This was from Quarf and Chronicle number 5, which I think I have a reprint of. This is from 1975, so 25-year-old. Don't care at all about Doctor Who. In fact, if I just saw this, I probably wouldn't even think that was John Byrne. If, like, I never saw this before and you just showed it to me. This was great. One of the first things that DC, Byrne's first published work for Dynamic Competition, DC. Oh, there it is. Untold Legend of Batman #1, inks by Jim Aparo. So what a team up. Jim Aparo inking John Byrne. I originally got this as a little digest trade paperback type novelization version. In fact, I still don't think I actually have the original comics. I should probably get those. Marvel 2-in-1 number 50, which he also wrote. The Thing goes back in time. The current Rocky Thing goes back in time, confronts, accidentally meets up with the previous version of himself, and have a good throwdown. Inks by Joe Sinnott. Great Alpha Flight stuff. Oh, this killed me as a kid. Guardian, my favorite character in Alpha Flight. 12 issues in, he kills him. Did I still buy the book? Of course I still bought the book. Until John Byrne left. Nope, I take it back. Then I bought it, still with Mike Mignola. Then after he left, I left. Drew Indiana Jones. I highly recommend getting those. Byrne's cover, Fantastic Four 262. Notice the little round-headed kid in the lower right-hand corner. That's right, little Charlie Brown type thing. I don't recall if that made it to the printed cover. I do have this book. I should actually look. But that's super cool. Beautiful pencils. Silver Surfer Special Edition #1. Great stuff there. If that's that one special edition, that was inked by Tom Palmer. Tom Palmer really... I like Tom Palmer's inks, but I thought it was a little too heavy on that Silver Surfer. Of course, he had a great run on She-Hulk. Had her breaking the fourth wall. All that fun stuff. Oh, man, I saw this, and I had to immediately go out and find this book. The One Time John Byrne Drew Judge Dredd. It's from 1983's 2000 AD special. Go get it if you don't have it. It is a phenomenal book. Byrne inked it himself. Seeing him draw Judge Dredd was awesome. Here's a panel from it. Pencils to the aborted sequence in X-Men 137. These pages were eventually inked and used in Phoenix, The Untold Story. This is basically, I believe, What If She Had Lived? The Charlton connection, where Byrne really got his start. This is Charlton Bullseye #1, Captain Atom, penciled by Ditko, inked by Byrne. That Charlton Bullseye #1 is a black and white book. It is not cheap. I would like to get it just because I love Captain Atom and Byrne inking Ditko. Yes, please. Guys, look for these in color. This is just great. This is markers. John Byrne is colorblind. And good coloring really comes down to tones, not the actual colors you use. I mean, you want your colors to be harmonious and such, but a lot really comes down to the grayscale value, the tonal value. If you get those right, the colors are almost secondary, and that's what he did. And if you read in The Art of John Byrne, and it probably says in this too, he had his markers, written on, or if they didn't come that way already, which you would think they would, so he knew what colors were what. So, and then we've got this great right here, ROG 2000. And here, of course, he's parroting a little humorous illustration. 27 years old when he did this. But I loved ROG 2000. I love the way Byrne did metal. I like the Silver Surfer. I just kind of wish he drew the Silver Surfer a little bulkier. I thought he drew the Surfer a little too thin. I thought the best Surfer interpretation was when John Buscema did the book. And the first few issues, John drew him not like huge, but thick, muscular. And as the book went on, he drew him, he drew him thinner and stuff, which I was like, nah, I don't know about that. But I wish Byrne would have just gave him a little more mass. That's all. Just a little bit more. I do have this standalone little, I guess it's a graphic novel. It's 8.5 by 11 featuring ROG 2000. But it's stapled. It's not that many pages. Maturing with Kunlun Kid. That's right. Chris Claremont wrote these. First time working with Chris, I believe. On both this issue and Iron Fist #1, Byrne's pencils aren't helped by the inking of Al McWilliams. Yeah, that's true. They're really not the best team up there, but still getting to see him draw Cap, and you get to see the early John Byrne, but you could just see where he was going, and he was just, mid-20s doing this stuff. Got a sense of how he would do Wolverine. Ghost Rider Champions #12, inks by Bob Layton. I liked what Bob did over John. I don't think he was a big fan, but I liked it. And there's the Hulk annual that Byrne did that had the Hulk, obviously, and an Angel and Iceman. And Bob Layton inked it, and I thought it was fantastic, but I guess he did not. And then the 17th and last issue of the Champions was great. John Byrne inked George Tuska. Always been a fan of George's work, but you can see John Byrne's inking in it. And that's because George is a guy who, old school penciler, the inker could show his style through. And then up to 1983, we've got a checklist here. This book, or 1984, we've got the checklist. You got to remember, he started at Marvel, I think, in what, 76? So 7 years or 8 years into the business, and he's got a book like this dedicated to his work. And, it wouldn't be hard with this checklist to go back and get everything. It's alphabetical order. So, trying to find... This is a good checklist, though. What? Let's see. Doctor Strange Classics. He did a cover. Champions, #11, inked by Bob. 12, inked by Bob. 13. 14, inked by Mike Esposito. And 15 and 17, he inked George Tuska. And, of course, like I said, Fantastic Four. At this point, his initial run where he was writing it and everything started officially. So he wrote 221, but he really officially started with 232 for that very long run, which, let's see how far this book goes up to in his run. But he did other Fantastic Fours. You can see, obviously, the ones inked by Sinnott are fantastic. What was his very first Fantastic Four? Let's see. 209. So just a short time later, he took over. But 221 he did pencils and inks on. So I will have to get 221 because he wrote it as well. These other ones he didn't write. So 257, turn the page, still going. All the way up to 270, he worked on Fantastic Four past 270. So almost completes it. This annual by him, Fantastic Four Annual 17, is another great one. Indiana Jones. Oh, Giant Size Dracula. This, I believe, might have actually been his first work. So 1975, started at Marvel when he was 25. 9 years later, he has a book out about him, inked by Rudy Nebres. Can't even see John Byrne in it because it's Rudy Nebres doing the inking, but if you're a completist, you would want to get it. So then he wrote this annual with Sasquatch, which was really cool. But number 7 is the one that Bob Layton inked. And he did covers on ROM because they starred Alpha Flight. I believe this Marvel Team Up 133, all he did was the cover. Let's see. Yeah, he just did the cover on that one. Oh, look at that. He drew Marvel Team Up 100. Something else I did not know. So there you go. Marvel Team Up Annual number 7. Alpha Flight's on the cover. And he inked it over Paul Neary. But I mean, at this small, I know it's hard to see, but guys, go search this out. You'd think Byrne just drew the whole thing from his inking. Avengers Annual, he inked over Steve Ditko. Of course, his long run on X-Men, which I thought I used to have every issue of the X-Men that Byrne drew, but alas, I do not. So shame on me. They're way too expensive to go back and get. Thank God I got reprints. And then here we go, The Art of John Byrne, SQ Productions, his Charlton work. I don't have all the Doomsday stuff either. But I tell you what I do have, Wheelie and the Chopper bunch. Great cartooning by him. This is from that Silver Surfer that Tom Palmer inked as well. So, cool stuff. There you go, guys. That is the book look for the week. Thank you very much for joining me on this book look. Now, you guys need to go over and get KOR-DRATH, The Awakening. The trailer is at the end of this video. It is my crowdfunded book. It's because of you guys and your support that allow me to bring these books to you with my buddy Dennis Turner. Please go check it out. Please go back it if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much. We'll catch you next week for another book look. Take care. Be safe. Like, subscribe, and share. Bye, everybody.